Have I quit the Sage for good? Is Sage just that bad? I have actually been asked this a bunch of times now across all the platforms and YouTube comments, Discord DMs. I have people asking me in game, why don't I see you playing Sage anymore? And basically getting at why haven't I been playing Sage quite as much as Scholar, and I've decided why not answer just that, because unfortunately I do have a lot to say on it. But now for my obligatory opening. Hey guys, it's your boy Cole, and no, I have not quit the Sage. Please consider dropping a beefy Sage on that like button and cat daddying that subscribe button. And yes, I know that's the smoothest sandpaper, I'm so sorry. But no, I don't think that Sage is inferior overall to the Scholar, but there are going to be some key points of pain that the Scholar directly addresses that makes it a whole ordeal, a whole big deal to me on why I'd pick the Sage versus the Scholar. First off, I have made a video now talking about World of Warcraft's add-ons, specifically that there are Mouseover macros that allow you to volley out a ton of skills just by clicking a party frame. Sage would be a prime massive candidate to benefit from this. This would be like the #1 candidate alongside Astro. Don't think I'm forgetting about the cards. I know the Astro mains out there are currently suffering with that. But to be clear, guys, add-ons in 14 are against the TOS, as stated by Yoshi P. That went super controversial in the community, so let's not get too crazy here, guys. I use the vanilla UI. I am terrified to use anything else, so that is that. I need them, the 14 official devs, to do this for me. I desperately need it. But people are probably going to argue, which is a valid counter-argument, Mouseover macros are already a thing in baseline 14. And my rebuttal to that, which I rebuke it in the name of the Lord, is not really. Macros are suffering tremendous drawbacks in vanilla 14, and the #1 thing that they do not queue. Yes, I understand there's delay. That is a thing that is annoying, whatever. But my main gripe is that they do not queue, and that makes it so that in the heat of the moment, as I'm say casting Dosis on Sage, it makes it significantly harder to cardia swap. Instead, now I need to manage to cram in that Mouseover command, like initiate the Mouseover command and animation into that block of time between getting the finish of the Dosis cast. Trust me, you need to wait till like the end of that, at least on my ping I do. And I don't have bad ping, it's what, like 50 ms, which is pretty damn good for Canada though. But I need to manage to cram the Mouseover command and animation into that block of time. It's janky and it's not that great, and sadly it has led to me abandoning Mouseover macros, and I've never really considered it ever since. Actually, that's a lie. I considered it like 2 weeks ago where I tried it again, and I had to stop. I was like, this is too painful, because I kept whiffing the like cardia swap, and I'm like, damn. Or I would cardia swap and it would like go on to me because like my macro had like a fall down, because sometimes I do just press like my up mouse button. I'm getting off topic, I'll get back. In terms of Mouseover macros, obviously this extends to all skills, and all healers can benefit from it. Summoner with Rekindle can benefit from it. Dragoon with their Dragon Eye can benefit from it. Tanks with all of their various skills can benefit from it. But I feel it very keenly on Sage. Ooh, this gets into my second point now, which is my problems with Icarus. And oh Lord, I have problems with Icarus. Oh god, I knocked myself out with that one. Is it bad to laugh at your own jokes? I know the answer to that's yes, but here we are, just doing it. But anyone else remember Mercy from Overwatch? And one of the main problems that started with the release of Overwatch that still exists to this day is that she's completely dependent on her teammates' positioning. I'm so looking forward to Overwatch 2, where we have one less option of a teammate. But yeah. In Final Fantasy XIV, that feeling strikes a chord with me with Icarus, and with extremely precise positioning for so many mechanics in the game, a team member even delaying their movement to the last second for uptime can mean Icarus is a worthless ability. And for God's sake, I am not saying don't do melee uptime strats. Don't. That's not what I'm saying. Do your melee uptime strats. But that's why I'm saying Icarus, it's like, you're really dependent on your team. And that doesn't feel good. And this is unfortunately gonna open the can of worms yet again of being another instance where Mouseover macros being snappy and responsive and queuing could pay off tremendously, because right now, in order to get to a teammate, you need to click them or their portrait, but that makes it even harder, and then you need to like then issue the Icarus command, then target back to the boss. It's just a whole lot of steps, and it's just like, okay, yeah, you know what, I can drive to like the store in a car without air conditioning at 30 degrees Celsius, and I can be like, okay, this sucks, but you know what, I would rather have the air conditioning on as I drive to the store. It's quality of life, guys, and it really does add up. It actually really does. Now, don't get me wrong, mobility abilities feel awesome, and I've used this to great effect at times, but it is significantly difficult to use effectively most of the time. I've found myself better off just relying on my own movement, such as in P3S with the snapshots when I was progging it. It was a major cause of me taking damage down for no good reason, other than I want to keep casting Dosis and use Icarus. Yeah, I'm sure that one Dosis cast really outweighed the, 50% damage reduction or whatever insane value it is. Obviously that was not amusing people, and so I eventually just gave up and started walking. This Icarus does not have good wings. It flew too close to the telegraph and got whacked. Now let's talk about potentially an Icarus rework, which I know might be controversial. I'm not saying I'm a game dev. I see that all the time. I'm not saying I'm a game dev. I'm not saying I know better, but I do believe, for me, in my opinion, that this skill would honestly be better served if it was reworked into a function exactly as it does today. But also add on to that ground targeting like Ninja's Tsukuchi ability, which I personally used on Ninja to tremendously great effect, especially now with the double tap and not allowing the marker to extend beyond the maximum allowable radius of the skill. That would make Icarus so fucking good. That would push Icarus to become one of my favorite abilities in the entire game. I'm not saying add charges to it. I'm not saying reduce its cooldown. I'm not saying extend its range. Just allow us to also have independent ground targeting. This skill would become my favorite overnight. One of my favorites. I still love some others as much, but that's pretty damn high standards. But now let's compare this to Expedient for now for the next pain point that I have. Expedient. Please hear me out before you start trying to take out the guillotine. I think having unique, not homogenized aspects of kits is a great thing. I want to see more of that. I think we currently actually face a problem with Expedient, where everything is so homogenized that this kind of thing does become a problem, which is super unfortunate, so don't get me wrong. But Expedient, even with its duration halved, is still undeniably one of the most effective tools for progression that anyone can have. I'm not going to explain why 10 seconds of mobility on a controlled 2-minute cooldown timer is effective that can be coordinated with the group, but frankly that's insulting everyone's intelligence if I did. But I'm actually going to say I'm still amazed. Before Endwalker was launched, people dumped on the skill. I said it then and I said it now, the skill is excellent for progression, which is my number one reason you haven't seen me much on Sage after a period of time. Yes, Expedient. Number one reason above all others. Maybe I honestly should have started the video out with Expedient, but I am not a standard, well-organized, fantastically scripted creator, and I'm not going to pretend that I am anymore, so here we are. I swear that's iced tea that I'm drinking right now, or water. But since I got my number one problem out, I guess I should talk about my number two problem, which is range. Sage's range, I hate it. Or I should say strongly dislike. It is one of the biggest perks of Scholar, and people have shrugged it off with my Scholar Ultimate Guide saying, that's not relevant. That, excuse me, is just fluff to boost the size of this. Ew. Could you imagine talking about range? And I'm just sitting here like, what? Range is a huge consideration for in any difficult content. Being able to place EOS or Seraph at a location and AoE skills be based around their location and not yours is not just big, it is a game changer. Sages are centered around themselves, which it's very short too, which it's just like you look at Fizzes 2, that's going to be 15 yards range. You look at Panheim, a 15-yard range around yourself, not at a target location that you could place a EOS or Celine. That really kind of sucks. Hallmark examples of this include P3S Fountain of Fire. Place Seraph or Lilybell from White Mage in the center of the arena and it can cover the entire arena as you are forced to the side. And people are taking significant damage there, it really makes things smooth. Or P4S has a host of act mechanics that range is actually nice to have on. Now allow me to just be my normal stupid self here, because I have promised I'm gonna just allow myself to be dumb. But I hate that Sage has such a tiny range and reminds me of my ex. Playing Scholar is like my current boyfriend, and the range really does matter. Sure, you don't always need to have that range. Sure, you could theoretically play around having a shorter range. You could, it's how you use it, right? But it's nice when things just work. I always say that I'm a pretty guy and I like it simple. Now let's have a kiki around another big problem that I have with this age, which is that its barriers are frankly unsatisfying. I like big, thick, juicy, succulent, sun-blocking, eclipse-causing Kim Kardashian, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj-sized barriers. I Thanos snap mechanics out of existence on Scholar with my I don't want to deal with this shit anymore Thanos glove of awesome. Sage can't do that. Not even close. Not even close. Not even in the same dimension. It's like comparing your butt, your... It's just not the same. Like, yes, Sage, I'm aware, can use their 90-second Zoe ability and get 50% more barrier, and then combine that with Physis, which gives another 10% in AoE, which then stacks with Eukrasia Prognosis for something like a 528 potency barrier. Janky math on the screen somewhere. In my footage, though, I show even a crit Eukrasia Prognosis, which, to be clear, isn't something that you can guarantee. Unlike Scholar, Sage can't guarantee that. The non-crit version is even less of a barrier than this. Frankly, it is such a significantly weaker barrier than Scholar that even if you compare it explicitly to the Scholar only using recitation ad load deployment, and yes, that's removing the galvanized barrier on my Scholar, trust me, I'm not being stupid, that has been taken off for this demo, it's still almost double the barrier size, no other buffs included on Scholar. Dissipation, protraction, Fey Illumination are very accessible. Simply put, a Scholar can better cocoon the entire party from a single incredibly powerful blow of a mechanic. Sage's Panheima does do far more than Seraph's 2 constellations, but we haven't even come close to seeing fights that have pushed it to the level that I would value it at the same level, not even higher than this big barrier. I don't even view it at the same level as this big barrier that Scholar can dump out like a grumpy every 90 seconds. Now, if you do my full Thanos glove of awesome, the team-wide barriers are disgusting. Add in Bard's Nature's Monet, which is another 20% bonus. Add in War's Thrill of Battle, which adds more extra healing. And this can be pushed even further with a multiplicative stacking of all the different buffs, and then you can further trivialize mechanics very easily. And I say this because we see bards and warriors very often, and far more often than monks. Otherwise I'd say mantra here too, but monk is very much a unicorn these days. Sage, in my eyes, to complete with the deployment tactics, needs some sort of buff to Zoe, where Zoe has a new line added to it saying something akin to Eukrasian Prognosis barriers produced while under this effect of Zoe have an additional 50% extra healing magic potency, so that means up to 100% on specifically Eukrasian Prognosis for the AoE barrier. Because frankly, Scholar stomps on Sage here to a painful degree I can't ignore, and yeah, invalidating a mechanic outright every 90 seconds is definitely one of the most gratifying experiences of the Scholar. I'm so stupid, but it's true. I don't think you can talk to someone who's main Scholar for years that isn't just like, yeah, of course, like invalidating a mechanic feels fucking amazing. It feels so good. Now, another reason is Toxikon. Whew, we're getting through a laundry list here, but these are actually gripes that I've had with the Sage. Like, I do not like Toxikon, and I feel that it's simply a worse Ruin 2. How many single target Eukrasian diagnosis barriers are we pulling out these days? I've cleared the tier and I've farmed it for many weeks now, and I can tell you zero. Not once have I felt like in a fight that I actively need to spam it. I have not felt like I've needed to put it out. I have 2 tanks, I have a Dark Knight and I have a Paladin right now. Even for the scariest of tank busters, I just don't care. Even when they're sharing it, even when they don't have immunities, I just don't need to do it. And my question with Toxikon is, why doesn't this work on AoE barriers? And let's say every AoE barrier gives 1/8 the charge when it breaks. Not a full charge, guys. I'm not saying do something crazy there, like, because obviously that would be a little ridiculous if each individual party member's little AoE barrier that broke gave a Toxikon charge. I'm not saying that. But let's say each of them gave 1/8 of a charge. Let's say it just built up a little bit. Maybe even copy something like a Lily Gauge. I don't know. But in a fight, I'm more worried about squishy DPS getting flanked by an unmitigated coherence than any tank barriers, which is more often than not softened to a nauseating degree with Sage's already excellent single target kit. So Terry is on demand, way better than Fey Tether or whatever, Fairy Tether. Haima is amazing, 20% bonus healing with Krasis. Combine that with Haima, you're good, you're set. That tank is set. They are comfy, they're cushy, they are getting the VIP treatment. When I play the Sage, I want not for tank healing, especially in this tier. Maybe next tier will be different, but this tier, I want not for it. It's irrelevant to me. So Toxikon not being as accessible to the same level as Rune 2 does make me feel less impactful during prog. It is something that I definitely notice. I like the flexibility Rune 2 gives me, and I acknowledge that Sage has flexibility to cast berries on the fly, but the fights aren't demanding that kind of throughput, at least not right now. And I don't think that fights, even when I look at the ultimate, it doesn't demand that kind of mobility plus throughput balance, whereas DPS plus mobility will always be relevant. And to be clear, single target bears cast that way on the fly rarely break in the dreaded spam situation, but again, this is another area, yet again, Mouseover macros would be amazing. Mouseover macro Eukrasian diagnosis if you were in that situation, so you don't need to take off your attention from the target, the boss. Lastly, it's probably a get good scrub kind of situation, or perhaps it's because I'm just so comfortable with the current healer state, but Eukrasia as the ability feels not that great to me. I love the theme, I love the idea, I love the instant cast, don't get me wrong. I'm not a big fan of having to mash it on the GCD and then immediately get to the next GCD. Yeah, I realize there's a little bit of buffer time, guys, but it doesn't feel as slick as a single button press to reapply my damage over time effect. I get it. I might need just more experience. I'm acknowledging it. That could be my flaw. That could be on me, guys. But I might need to get more used to this and play more and more Sage over many months, because you're comparing me playing Scholar for almost a damn decade now. But it's just like, and more Sage. But it feels less smooth to me. It feels even slightly grotesque and like sticky and gummy to me, and I don't love that feeling. Anyhow, that is really just my take on it, and again, you're gonna see way more Sage content from me. I love the Sage. I think it has so much to offer to the table. Like what I was saying about the single target, you really don't need to worry about single target healing when you're on the Sage. You have amazing abilities, like Zoe with Numa is incredibly powerful burst healing. You also have Execol there, so it's just like, people might be like, yeah, but crit recitation, recitation indom, sorry, but it's just like, yeah, but you can also like just Numa it, and then you can use Execol.